The IKEA Business Network is now open for small businesses and entrepreneurs. Join for free today to get access to interior design services to help you make the most of your workspace, employee well-being benefits to help you and your people grow, and amazing discounts on travel, insurance, and IKEA purchases, deliveries, and more. Take your small business to the next level when you sign up for the IKEA Business Network for free today by searching IKEA Business Network.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. And I've got a fantastic guest for the audience today, Michael Thomas. He's a business transformation navigator coming out of Washington. And today's talk is going to be all about execution, the speed of execution, how to get buy-in for your team, and how to rapidly grow and scale your company or business. So he's got 15 years and experience, and I'm really happy to have Michael to the show. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having me. Excuse me.
Yeah, I really, the audience really loves business entrepreneurs such as yourself. So, start off by talking who you are, what you do, and how you got started, and we'll dive right into the show.
Sure. So my origin story started in the 2008 financial crisis. I started as an investment advisor of all things, and I really got an interesting trial by fire experience there, learning about customer experience, learning about how to navigate what does a good product or service look like, particularly in turbulent times. And that really got me to understand what it means to design an experience for a customer at the very beginning, and then what that looks like if you were to start something on your own. And over time, I got some training on processes and systems, learned about Lean Six Sigma and Lean Startup, so all of the buzz terms, jobs to be done, et cetera. But all those only make sense if you have an idea that you can really push through. And then also the most important part is ideas only work is if you have the right buy-in for your team to actually execute, because ideas are everywhere, but execution is the thing that really makes the difference.
You mentioned this 5-6 Sigma, which is I've heard of, and just kind of for the audience, elaborate on what that is to set the groundwork.
Sure. So Lean Six Sigma is an approach. I really look at it as more of a philosophy rather than a prescription. But in essence, the core of it is ways of working where you really design systems and processes to work in a repeatable way so that you have repeatable success for your business or your organization. So there's a general approach which has what's called a demand process. So you usually define what the problem is, usually measuring the impact of that problem. You're going to do some analysis, and then you're going to implement some solutions, and then ultimately control for the variation with it. So there's a general philosophy around it, and it can be quite prescriptive in certain instances, but I look at it more as an overall philosophy on how an organization works, because every organization has their nuance and their differences. So the key is understanding what things can apply, and then you leave out the rest, because that's what really success is about, is following what works and leaving out what doesn't.
Yeah. The other, because my secret superpower, and I'll spill the beans, is just, my success has always just been, speed of execution, just execute. I'm not the smartest or the brightest ones, but I execute and I stay consistent. One thing is that's kind of come to my mind recently is this idea, because I was just on another call and they were talking about, execution, putting in those long hours, hustling, all of that. But then there comes a time when you have to let go, and how do you balance this speed of execution without burning out? And sometimes, letting go allows the kind of the universe or law of attraction to set in and allow you to manifest what you're actually trying to create.
Yeah, well, I would say the first thing to recognize is that we only have 24 hours in a day and only 7 days in a week. There are no 25-hour days. There are no 8-day weeks. So there's always a constraint we all have, which is time. So if we want to spend the most amount of time doing the things that we most enjoy, then we have to understand that there's certain things that we must let go. And as any visionary entrepreneur understands that if you want to scale, you have to figure out what things you work best at, what things you enjoy, and then what things you feel more comfortable letting go and having someone take those tasks on for you. Now, as it relates to execution, one of the biggest things is, again, helping your organization or your team bridge the gap between what you have as a visionary in your head of what right work needs to get done, and your team thinking about having that work getting done right. So there's usually a big gulf between the two. And often what bridges that gap is the right proposition or the right narrative. What gets the team to understand the work that has to get done in the right way, and the visionary to understand that work is as important to them as the ideas that they have. So the execution is bridging the gap between the two, and it's usually a powerful narrative that gets that buy-in so that the team can marshal forces to that goal that they want to accomplish.
Yeah. Mentioning, you know, team buy-in, what are some great strategies or methods and kind of mindsets to kind of frame this idea to get the team to buy into your idea so that you can execute better?
Yeah, I would say first is clarity on what the aim is for the organization. If you just say I need this task to get done, you can have clarity on the task, but there's going to be a question of, well, why does that task need to get performed? How does this fit into the long-term vision? What are we going to do as an organization? So the clarity on what is the aim first, that's absolutely paramount. From there, understanding how does that team work best? What is their orientation to work? Are they somebody who just likes to have lists and check things off? Are they a person who are rigorous about standards and analysis? Are they a people person? Now, depending on what the composition of your organization is, that's obviously good to assess. And then within the aim and the composition of your team, what gaps do you need to fill? Is everyone represented in terms of the business cycle or the project cycle? Or do you need to get some help there? It could be outside, or it could be adjusting some teammates in terms of where they fit in the organization. So all those things can be downstream, but first and foremost, there needs to be clarity on the aim. What are we trying to accomplish? And once we have that, then we can start to get more clarity on where teams need to be positioned in order to execute properly.
Yeah, really. So kind of, as a follow-up question to that is, this one thing is with this idea is, moving on with a lot, especially with startup culture. And when teams are working on a new project, how do you figure out what needs fixing first?
Well, it really depends on what stage the startup is actually in. Are they trying to get product market fit? Are they past product market fit and trying to scale? Are there things that are within a product or service offering that needs to be adjusted? Do they need to optimize that first? So it really starts with understanding, again, going back to the previous question, what their aim is, and then where they fit in that cycle. So if it's in a startup context, it's usually getting product market fit and understanding who their customer is, what customer segment are they going after, are they looking at early adopters versus the laggards as an example. So how to assess what problems they need to solve is figuring out where they're at the beginning. So in a startup context, it's usually product market fit. And there's usually a lot of considerations around what is the product offering? Do they have the right messaging? What channels are they using? What existing alternative are they anchoring against? Because those things are very key. No product exists in the dark. There's usually some old way that they're trying to replace for their customer base. And if those questions are not answered, then that's one of the first places we want to go to.
As a next question is, so with this, once you figure out what needs fixing, the other question is, a lot of companies, they struggle with customer experience and retention. And so, I know in your area, you've come up with strategies used to enhance customer experience and retention. And, why do you believe customer support is just more than a cost center?
Yeah. So from a customer experience standpoint, there's usually not a lot of rigor in the same way like sales and marketing has a lot of rigor. There's a lot of books about how to message to customers, how to sell to them. And those things are important. But once they've actually decided to sign up for your product or your service, it's just as important to have that same rigor around onboarding, their adoption of the tool or service that you're offering. And then ultimately on the other side, expansion business. So depending on the business, it could be you're getting expansion through referrals. You may be getting expansion through additional sales, could be cross-selling, downselling, whatever those things are. But ultimately, turning CX from just a cost center into a value center is really looking at it first as a way to continue to deliver for your customers, and then look for that expansion, whether it's doing a great job so that you can get a referral or doing a great job so that you can offer the next service in your product offering. But really treating it as as a profit center and seeing what things you need to deliver and giving them that aha moment and not just treating it as, oh, they have a problem and are calling in and that's the only thing, is really digging into, did you actually solve the problem that you initially sold them on? Because if that's not the case, there's no way that they're going to refer you to someone else or be a part of any expansion business that you have planned in the future. So really
Mhm.
treating it with that same model. And there's models that exist like such as the bow tie model, where they talk about that commitment point in the middle, and then the sales and marketing on one side, and then the onboarding and adoption on the other side. But that commitment point being that middle, and then you look at that almost as a bow tie shape, and you treat the CX side with the same rigor as the sales and marketing side.
Really interesting. Moving on is so we talk about standardizing businesses processes, and why do you think companies often overlook the importance of standardizing processes for customer retention and growth, and how do you address this gap?
Well, a big reason why companies are hesitant because there's always a risk of moving into the bureaucracy realm where everything
Mhm.
has, there's a meetings for meetings or there's a system for a system or a process for a process. And it's always very slow to get things done. And any organization, particularly in these times, needs to be very agile in terms of adopting to the changes. We see the gold rush that's happening with AI and all of the different things that are involved in that, and companies want to be able to adapt. But if there's a lot of rigor around the processes, too much so, then they can't move fast. So how to address that is you need the right amount of complexity. So it really comes down to assessing what things need structure around them so that you avoid the risks, because you can never get rid of them, but you want to avoid as many of them as possible. And then you need to create space for that innovation and ideation, because if you don't, there's always risk of disruption. So you need to create just the right amount where you have some rigor in place so that you can have predictability in your business, but also allow for those new opportunities to come in. So there's that delicate balance, and it's always a case by case basis with every business, but you have to have that as a core principle.
How can people find you and reach out to you and learn more about you?
Yeah, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn. It may be in the show notes. I'd be happy to reach out to have a conversation. We can see if anyone has any challenges that I can potentially help with, and it may be some opportunities to gain some insight for themselves and for myself.
Yeah, I love that. And for all the audience, let's thank Michael for coming on and giving his professional expertise. And be sure to give his socials a like and follow. And thanks so much for coming on.
All right, thank you so much for having me.